I'm in my office at the Chopra Center for Wellbeing in Carlsbad, California, and I'm having an amazing morning with Clinton Ober. Is that the right pronunciation?
Yes.
Clinton Ober, but we call him Clint. And Clinton has had a very illustrious career bringing something called grounded well-being to the world. I thought I should share his insights with you and what I've learned about grounded well-being in the last year or more. So, Clint, first of all, why do people feel better when they walk barefoot on the beach or on the grass or on the earth? What's happening?
Basically, they're dissipating inflammation, grounding inflammation, reducing inflammation and stress in their body, calming the nervous system, and reducing the pain.
Louder. So we're saying people want you to speak a little louder.
Okay.
So when people walk on the beach or walk on the ground or walk on grass, inflammation in their body is being reduced. How?
Well, basically the earth, and I hate to be technical sometimes, but the earth is negative about 20 millivolts, let's say. And what that means is it's like lightning from the clouds. I mean, the earth discharges everything and keeps everything electrically neutral, stable. But let me see if I can find a good way to say this. Basically, when you stand on the earth, your body equalizes with the earth. It conducts Earth's energy, its natural energy. And when you are grounded, your whole body is negative. And all of your red blood cells and all of your cells become more negative. That means they have more electrons around their surface. That means they repel each other, like blood normalizes, and it can get into the capillaries and clean up the...
So would it be true to say that when you're grounded, when your body is connected with the body of Mother Earth, after all our bodies recycle Earth, then negative ions are coming from the Earth into your body, neutralizing the excess free radicals charge that is being built, and so you and the Earth are in a sense becoming a single electromagnetic field.
One and the same.
One and the same. So when you're, say, jet lagged and you've flown from Los Angeles to Tokyo, would you say it's a good idea to walk on the grass for a little bit?
Yes, and it's a different reason, because the Earth has these circadian rhythms, and the amplitude of those rhythms are higher during the day when there's bright sun hitting the Earth, versus night they're lower. So anyhow, we did a study on cortisol 15 years ago, 16 years ago, and what we recognized with a couple of stewardesses that were in the study, that their circadian cortisol profile was 3 hours off, because at 4 a.m. you always have this big spike in cortisol starts to climb. So what we found out is they were stewardesses, they were on New York Times, so they came here, their cortisol was off. So then we started looking at it and started asking a lot of questions. So what we learned is soon your body is systemically connected to the earth in these rhythms, and it's kind of like the earth is a metronome for the circadian hormone cascades and all of the things that are going on. And so when you touch the earth, then your body resets its circadian rhythms and its hormone cascades, and then cortisol automatically normalizes, and then you're back in your time zone, so you don't have jet lag. Jet lag is having cortisol 3 hours later than you're supposed to.
So for many years I've talked about how our body is a part of the symphony of the universe, that our biology is part of the biology of the universe, and I've spoken about chronobiology. One of the rhythms that we are part of is the circadian rhythm that occurs as the earth spins on its axis, but there are other rhythms like the seasonal rhythm as the earth goes around the sun, tidal rhythms as a result of the gravitational effects of the sun and the moon and the stars on our body fluids, and even lunar rhythms as a result of the more complicated movement of the earth and sun and moon in relationship to each other. But remember, it's all one symphony, and our body is dancing to it, even though it can't name the tune, so to speak. And a perfectly healthy body would be totally synchronized with universal rhythms. If you balance your circadian rhythms, it's likely that all the other rhythms will also sink in.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, of course, these days we're wearing shoes and usually rubber soles. We're disconnected from the earth. So, Clint, who is an engineer by background, right? Your background was engineering. What was it?
My background is I've always been able to see the future, painful as it is sometimes, but mostly entrepreneurial. I was involved in the early days of development of television, cable television, putting data over satellite, looking at a computer and say that's a TV set without a signal. We need to do something to make it, bring it to life. Those kind of things. So it's more or less.
Okay, so now my hand here is on this mat, which is what? What is this mat do?
This mat is basically, it's used commonly in the ESD industry, electrostatic discharge in all kinds of places, but similar material. This is a carbonized polyurethane, so it's conductive. So that means that this wire here is connected to the earth. The earth is at a certain potential, and this meter here is connected to the earth, so it's at the same potential. So if I touch the mat and it's grounded, it's at earth potential, it turns green. If I touch you, you have your hand on, if I touch you and you are grounded and you're at earth potential, you will turn green. The light turns green.
So right now, by placing my hand
Yes.
on this mat, I'm connected to the earth.
Yes.
And I'm grounded there.
Yes, you are equal with the earth. You are one and the same as the earth. You are one with the sun. Everything is all one big
And
system.
we're one field of electromagnetic energy, right?
Yes, yes.
And as a result of that, inflammation is going down in my body.
Yeah, inflammation is, it's abnormal to have inflammation in your body in the first place, because you can't have inflammation if you're in the wild, living as we used to, like the animals live in the wild don't have.
Now I'm also sitting on a grounding mat. It's here
Yes.
on
Yes.
my chair. It's also connected to the earth. So right now, my body and the earth's body are one.
Yes.
There's one electromagnetic energy field.
Yes.
But because the earth is part of the cosmic field, I'm one with, in a sense, the cosmos, right?
Yeah, I always put it this way. I mean, we're an extension of the earth. We're the earth that's walking around. When we disconnect from the earth, then it's like, disconnecting from your mother.
We are the cosmos taking a walk with itself.
But have better reception, like meditation for me and Miss Olivia. Better reception, better connection, better reception. Pretty quiets everything down, and you're more open.
Okay, so now for all those who are watching this, I asked Clint earlier, what does the FDA have to say about this? And let me answer the question, okay?
Yes.
So the FDA, of course, forbids anyone from making claims on curing an illness with a device unless there are many, many studies that have been done. The FDA has approved about this.
Right.
So right now, we want you to know that we're not making any claims about curing an illness. But I've always believed that you have a healing system within you, that there is something called the healing self, that your body self-regulates, and if the body is somehow interfered with, then that self-regulation goes awry. And the biggest epidemic today is stress in modern civilization, which is basically the perception of physical or psychological threat, but also time sickness, not getting enough sleep, not eating properly, having unhealthy emotions like guilt, shame, hostility, mistrust, anything that basically disconnects us from life.
Yeah, yes.
Once you're disconnected from life, then you feel fear, and then anger and hostility and guilt and shame and depression. It's basically you're not connected with life, and there's one life and we're all part of it. So having told you that we're not making any claims, I can tell you that we have now many published studies, 22 published studies in peer-reviewed journals,
Yes.
that show that inflammation goes down when you're grounded. Either you're walking on the ground, or you have a device such as this mat or the mat I'm sitting on, or you can have a mat under your bed sheet, etc. And anecdotally, we've heard from thousands of people that they sleep better, they get their jet lag relieved, inflammation goes down, they have more energy, they have less stress, and on and on. The list goes on and on. So at first, when you find something that appears like a universal panacea, you kind of doubt that this is really true. But then I started sitting on these grounding mats. My wife started using a grounding mat under the sheets. She's never slept better. Nothing like melatonin or Benadryl or a sleeping pill, which doesn't give you real sleep anyway. And so I personally am convinced that this is a major revolution in enhancing our well-being. And that's why I, in a way, partnering through JIO, our Internet of Wellbeing, JIO.com. I'm partnering with Clint Ober to literally create a movement in the world called Grounded Wellbeing. Grounded Wellbeing. And these devices are part of it. You can click on the URL below to see how you can get one if you want. But let's talk a little bit about the study with babies. What did you mention that?
Yeah, this study. I wish I had the paper in front of me, but
don't worry.
anyhow, basically, preemies, babies, preterm babies, what they do when they're born, they have a lot of the stress-related health disorders, the colics, and all of that kind of stuff. So a study that was done in Hershey, Pennsylvania, at the Children's Hospital there, by Dr. Parker, with, I think it was supervision of the University of Pennsylvania. But anyhow, what they did is they would take and ground these babies, and within like less than a minute, it would normalize vagal tone, meaning, I don't know how well known that term is.
Let me explain it.
I'll let you explain it.
So we have two systems in our body, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system helps us deal with emergencies. And when there's a sudden noise or a sudden movement, then there's a part of your brain that reacts with what is called the fight or flight response, which means you either run or you fight, and you avoid that saber-toothed tiger that was going to have you for breakfast. There's also a third component to the stress response. It's called fight, fight, or freeze. So that's what happens when you're scared. And today our civilization is on sympathetic overdrive. Now, when you practice meditation, or when you go to sleep, or when you breathe deeply and consciously, or when you practice something that brings mind and body together, like yoga, for example, all the yoga postures or asanas are various postures that align body and mind, then your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the vagus nerve, is the main nerve responsible. The vagus nerve is called vagus because of the English word vagabond. It's the same. It goes everywhere. So it goes from your, it's the 10th cranial nerve. It goes from your brain. First, it influences your eye movements, your facial expressions, the tone of your voice, heart rate variability, but then it goes through the diaphragm and it regulates all the organs in your abdomen. That's why we're discovering now that various yoga postures, by influencing the vagus nerve, they decrease inflammation in the body. And every chronic disease that you can look at, whether it's bronchial asthma, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, obesity, various kinds of arthritis, even various types of cancer, there is a background of inflammation in the body. It's not that inflammation is necessarily causing the disease, but because it's in the background, it makes people more susceptible to disease. We also know that only 5% of disease-related gene mutations are fully penetrant, which means that they guarantee the disease. The rest is somehow linked to inflammation and lifestyle disorders. So I've maintained in my talks recently, I've talked about 6 pillars of sleep, 6 pillars of well-being. So sleep is one, very important, because during sleep body gets rid of toxins, gets rid of inflammation, sludges out the amyloid that's built up in your brain, does many, many things to heal the body. Stress management and meditation, number 2. We have many studies now that show that meditation upregulates the genes that cause self-regulation, down-regulates the genes that cause inflammation. That's number 2. Number 3 is emotions, healthy emotions like love, compassion, joy, peace of mind. They enhance self-regulation. Frustration, anger, anxiety, fear, guilt, depression, shame, all exacerbate inflammation. Number 4 is nutrition. So if your food comes from the earth, if it's closer to its source, which is the sun, has lots of phytochemicals, is not contaminated by petroleum products, which is most industrialized food production. So if you avoid food that has what we call is manufactured, refined, processed, or has hormones or insecticides or petroleum products or antibiotics, you get your food from the farmer's market. And then movement. If you move at least 10,000 steps a day and preferably do some yoga and pranayama, you will keep your body healthy. So that's 5 things. Now I've added in my talks, everywhere I go, I've added grounding, because grounding makes you one with all there is. It connects you to the earth, the electromagnetic field, which is part of the electromagnetic field of the universe. So, things like this take some time to catch on. The studies take time to do. But I have noticed in myself and all the people who come to the center now, when they come to our programs, whether it's Seduction of Spirit or Journey into Healing, they try out these devices. They try out this, they try out the mat, we have a grounding chair, we have grounding bed sheets, and invariably within a few minutes they start to feel what we should say is normal. What we call normal today is the pathology of the average. Everybody is living with inflammation. Inflammatory emotions, inflammatory environment, inflammatory food, inflammatory relationships. You can't get away from inflammation. Inflammation is fire, right? And if your body is on fire all the time, it's going to be unhealthy. And I've given you 6 pillars of well-being. They're all equally important, but grounding is a very good way to get started, right? Now show me that the same thing, that little gizmo that you have, it tells me I'm grounded because the green light goes on.
Yes.
Same thing about the chair, right?
Chair is grounded.
Chair is grounded. So what I thought is, and I have to clear this, but I'll get it cleared. For anyone who actually clicks on that URL that you're seeing right now on the screen, for the first 150, are you willing to give them away?
Absolutely.
So the first 150 people who click on that URL, we're going to give you this device. But on one condition, you report back to us whether it made a difference in your well-being or not, whether you slept better, whether you improved your stress, etc. Because it's very difficult to get data and we would like to collect more data. It's part of our research project. So in order to get that data, we are willing to give at least the first 150 free, and otherwise you can buy the other devices. But maybe we'll give away a lot more because we need the data. We need the data is more precious these days than anything else. And so if you try out these devices, and we can send you one of these. Now, how will they use this?
Well, this one here is more of a sampler. It's just, you can put your hands on it, or put your mouse on it. When you're at the computer, you can sit on it. You can put it on the floor, put your feet on it. You can put it in your bed and lay on it. It's just a sample to give you a feel.
But with the sample, you will get some results, right?
Oh, absolutely.
If I put this on a chair and ground myself and sit on that chair instead of a regular chair, I should notice the difference.
Right. So this is just a sampler to let everybody know the effect of it so you can experience. There's two ways to do it. I mean, this is one way to do it. You can go outdoors, take your shoes off, stand barefoot on the earth. It does the same thing. Then this does it when you're indoors. So, but anyhow, whatever your issues are, just pay attention and then just get grounded for 30 minutes and notice the change.
And we want the data, so we're giving it away free, at least a couple of hundred.
Yes.
And then we'll see if we get good data. We want to do more. But you have grounding chairs, you have grounding, what else do you have?
Well, the things that I've been pretty much doing research for 18 years. But as time went on, all the people in the research studies, they wanted this, they wanted that. And so whatever we used for devices for these studies, we would make up the excess and sell them. But anyhow, there's been certain ones that are really good, certain ones that didn't work out as well but it's a function. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to come up with a product that is affordable and that will last generally a lifetime. Like the chair mats or the bed mats, the one you put under the sheet.
Or even a chair by itself.
Or the chair by itself. That is really a profound product. The stories that are coming in from that are absolutely astounding.
So it just happens that I'm here in this room with my friend Jason Goldsmith, and all my friends, Jason included and Clint, know I'm very interested in technology that can help heal people. And so Jason, come a little bit here and tell everyone a little bit about the headband. You can just come. Jason, you've been training some Olympic athletes. Tell us about that.
Sure. So work with Justin Rose, predominantly golfers, but we are starting to work with tennis, baseball, football players. So we're working with a lot of athletes, and what we're trying to do is show athletes exactly what you're doing but we're using biofeedback with a wearable EEG device called Focus Band. And what Focus Band does is it teaches the individual how to regulate their brain. Essentially, we're doing the same thing that you're doing, is we're trying to show the individual that if they meditate and they do these things and they focus on getting back to that neutral state, that they can perform at a much higher level. So that's the goal. So
Jason, with the biofeedback, with the focus headband and possibly golf shoes that are grounded, we might see an improvement in athletic performance too, right?
Absolutely. I think there are probably Hall of Fame athletes out there that for whatever reason don't end up going on to perform well because they don't understand how to regulate themselves, or they don't have tools like this grounding mat. So they develop inflammation in their body, and they're not able to continue to perform.
What's this?
It's a band. You put it on an ankle or a foot or whatever. It's got a snap on it.
Speak a little louder.
This is what we use. Speaking of athletes a lot, we grounded a lot of the riders of the Tour de France for years. When you put a snap there, you can put this. This is pure silver around on the inside. It's conductive, so you can put it around a wrist or whatever, like so. Put the snap on it, and then it'll reduce inflammation in this area.
But how do you get grounded by just putting this on?
You have to put this on. Yeah, you have to put it.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
And so now
you're grounded.
And now if I can find my thing, I'm grounded.
There you are.
Yeah. And
So-
here's what's neat about grounding is you can hold this meter, just push down in the back, like so.
Okay.
Just go ahead and push down on that, push down on the back. So you're not grounded right now.
No.
I am grounded, so now you're
No,
grounded.
you're
But what's even better is if I touch Deepak, he's not grounded, but if he touches you, what happens?
No, I'm not.
Show her the light.
There you go.
So take your hand off Deepak. So anyhow, it's all...
They're all connected,
that's
right?
How we're all connected.
This is just a device that is amplifying that
Yes.
experience,
Yes.
but we're all connected. We'll keep you updated on what we are going to call the grounded well-being revolution. In the meanwhile, get a free sample. Click here, get a free sample, but please send us your data. In other words, your experiences, because we want to get the data as well. And for that, we're going to offer this free of charge, and you have the URL. Let's join the grounded well-being movement. Let's focus on the 6 pillars of well-being: sleep, meditation, emotions, movement, yoga, pranayama, nutrition, and grounding. And let's see what we can do to heal ourselves and heal our planet. Thank you, Clint. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
You bet.
Thank you.
Cheers.